Using the subjunctive in time clauses. Time clauses refer to when things take place. Some common time clauses that begin with these phrases include cuando, when, antes de que, before, después de que, after, hasta que, until, en cuanto, as soon as, and tan pronto como, as soon as. Time clauses refer to when an action takes place, and there are actually 3 different types of time clauses. These may be habitual actions. For example, siempre visito a mis abuelos cuando estoy en Kansas City. We see that it is habitual with the siempre, and so we just see here the present indicative. Time clauses may refer to the past. For example, cuando era niña, tomaba un vaso de leche cuando llegaba a casa después de la escuela. This is something in the past. It's also habitual, but it took place in the past. For example, another past time clause. Te llamé cuando supe las noticias. I called when I knew the news. So since that's in the past, I'm just seeing the past preterite. These time clauses can also refer to the future, and this is where we'll see something different. Voy a volver a casa después de que terminemos el proyecto. Here we see the use of the present subjunctive. Llámenme en cuanto salgan de clase. Again, this is referring to the future, and we see the present subjunctive following that time clause. Let's look at one last example. Vamos a repasar hasta que ustedes entiendan. Again, this is referring to the future, and so we see the present subjunctive. So let's look at when you would use the subjunctive with these time clauses. You will always use the subjunctive in a time clause that refers to the future. Think of it this way. The future is uncertain, and so since we associate the subjunctive sometimes with things that are uncertain, that's why you would use it. You'll always use the subjunctive following the clause antes de que. Now, our book doesn't really go into this, and we won't do a lot with it, but I wanted to point this last detail out because it is correct. If there's no change of subject with antes de, después de, and hasta, you just use the infinitive. And you'll notice that we're not using que with any of those. We'll just use the de, antes de, después de, and hasta. So if you're not changing subjects, for example, yo voy a preparar la cena antes de salir. I'm going to prepare dinner before I leave. No change of subject. Llamen a su mamá después de llegar a casa. So you call your mom after you get home. No change of subject. Vas a estudiar hasta entender el subjuntivo. You're going to study until you understand the subjunctive. Now, if there were a change of subject, it'd be different. For example, in the first one, I could say, voy a preparar la cena antes de que nosotros salgamos. So here you see that you have the yo, understood, as one subject, and then the nosotros as a second. So there you have changed subjects. You would do the same with any sentence like that. The second one, llamen a su mamá después de que ella llegue a casa. Maybe you're waiting on her to get home, and it'd be the subjunctive. Vas a estudiar el subjuntivo hasta que yo lo entienda. Maybe you're going to study with me until I understand it. So again, we're not doing a lot with that, but it is correct to say this way when you're not changing subjects. So it's important to note it. Let's sum up what we've learned. Time clauses refer to when an action takes place. They can be something we do habitually, in which case we'll just use a form of the indicative. They could be something in the past, you'd use a past tense, or they can be something referring to the future, in which case you'll use the subjunctive, unless there's no change of subject.